Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 Turtles in Time blasted out of the sewers and onto your Super NES back in 1992. Developed and published by Konami, Turtles in Time was what many consider to be the pinnacle of Konami's long line of beat-em-ups that graced the arcades from the late 80s and into the early 90s. While the arcade version enjoyed a ton of success, most of us kids were counting the days until it was ported to home consoles. Thankfully, Konami wasn't about to leave fans hanging and finally released the game for the Super NES, but not before making several alterations to the game that wasn't in the original arcade version. But did Konami's changes sink a surefire hit? Or was Turtles in Time for the Super NES everything us kids loved about the arcade game and even more? Well, put on your favorite ninja mask, because we're about to see if Turtles in Time can raise some shell. Start up Turtles in Time and you're treated to a hilarious opening cinematic where Krang literally steals the goddamn Statue of Liberty while April's filming her evening newscast. This of course pisses the Turtles off to no end and vow to get Lady Liberty back at any cost, even if it means traveling through time to do so. Yes, the story is ludicrous and silly, but when have anything the Turtles ever done not been? After you've taken in the story, go ahead and press start and pick your favorite mutated turtle, and then get ready to smash some Foot Clan. Get into the game proper and you'll be doing exactly what you want to be doing in a Turtles video game, beating the hell out of everything Shredder throws at you. To do so, you'll have your basic set of beat-em-up attacks, including your main volley of punches and kicks using the attack button, a jumping attack to make sure you don't land on a foot soldier's fist, and an absolutely brutal throw where you slam poor foot soldiers back and forth onto the cold, hard ground, killing any other enemies near it. You can still press jump and attack at the same time for a power attack like in the first Turtles arcade game, but this time you lose health when you use it, so it's now relegated to getting you out of a jam instead of spamming it constantly. You also get a few power-ups lying around the stages to help you out when things get rough, including a spinning attack that can take out anyone in its path, along with that all-important pizza to refill your health. Beyond that though, there's not much else you need to make your way to the end of the game, but that's okay though, since Turtles in Time is so much fun, you won't be missing out on anything else. If you haven't gathered by now, with the title of the game being Turtles in Time, the game's main gimmick is sending you back and forth through time. While the first few stages will be your standard Big Apple location like city streets and sewers, things quickly get super weird when Shredder sends everyone through time in order to keep the Turtles at bay. Suddenly you'll be fighting through prehistoric stages filled with dinosaurs, pirate ships, and even riding on hoverboards in a futuristic city. Thankfully, it's more than just a dumb gimmick, since the variety it gives the game really goes a long way in staving off the repetitiveness that comes with these types of beat-em-up games. The various locations and fun new enemies and bosses each one brings keeps the experience fresh and fun all the way to the last boss. The enemy variety in particular is really great here, with a huge selection of various foot soldiers and other enemies populating each stage for you to deal with. And while the game's 9 stages may not be super long, repeat playthroughs can be just as much fun as the first time, especially if you bring a friend along for some awesome co-op gameplay. All of this together helped Turtles in Time accomplish a rare feat ever seen in beat-em-up games. It really never seems to get boring. As mentioned before, Turtles in Time isn't an arcade-perfect port. A few of the arcade stages have been reworked a bit and turned into bonus stages for the Super NES, like Stage 3's Sewer Surfing level. Stage 8's Neon Knight Riders level also gets the bonus stage treatment as well, but even goes a step further and gives it a complete Mode 7 makeover, giving it an awesome 3D scrolling effect that was absent in the arcade. The Super NES version also added several new fan-favorite bosses into the game that were either replacing less popular bosses from the arcade or adding brand new ones. Some of the best new bosses included the likes of Slash, the Rat King, Bebop and Rocksteady, and even an appearance by Super Shredder himself as the last boss. Probably the biggest addition to the Super NES game though was being able to throw foot soldiers at the screen, which was not only hilariously satisfying, but a fantastic addition to the gameplay. One of those new bosses Konami added in actually required you to use the move to fling foot soldiers at Shredder to take him out, and it's one of the best bosses in the game due to just how much fun it is to throw foot soldiers at your TV screen. In fact, going back and playing the arcade original without being able to toss enemies into the foreground really makes it seem less fun in comparison. This is definitely one of those rare times when tinkering with an already proven formula actually made for a better game. Turtles in Time is one of those classic games that seems to almost always be mentioned in a tone of reverie among gamers, and for good reason. Not only was Konami at the very top of their game when they made the arcade original, but then took it one step further and somehow made the Super NES game even better. Of course, Turtles in Time is still just as much fun to play now as it was then, and it continues to age better all the time, as beat-em-ups are mostly relegated to lifeless free-to-play mobile games these days. Going back and playing Turtles in Time shows just how much fun a beat-em-up can be when you've got some truly talented developers making one. And while I doubt we'll ever see the genre return to what it was back in the early 90s, it's always nice to know that Turtles in Time will always be the game that beat-em-ups are compared to for as long as they exist. And if that's not worth a Cowabunga, then I don't know what is.